life issues, broken down to help you build your own opinions on the issues that matter most. Coming to you from Austin, Texas, this is The Deciding Factor with your host, Alton Hill and John Herzog.
Hey everyone, thank you for listening today. Today our podcast is going to be about marriage and whether you should get married or stay single. We'll talk about our issues and our pros to marriage, as well as give you some statistics and everything. And we actually have a special guest. Alton brought his wife, Heather, to join us today.
Hello.
Yep.
And so how are y'all doing?
Great. Heather didn't want to do the podcast, but, drug her in by the hair. So we're good.
I'm here.
Nice.
She survived it.
Did she? So I actually want to start out with some stories. Do y'all have any fun stories about marriage or your dating life in the past?
I guess the most interesting thing that people, they think is exciting, I guess. And, I guess not very many people date when they are 13 and they're still married to the same person and never broke up or anything like that. So I guess you could say that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Heather found a keeper for sure.
So you're 23 years in the making.
Yeah, long time.
96 to 20, whatever that is.
Nice. I'll let you do the math later. I actually have a story that's kind of from the dating gone bad, I guess. So back in the day, I was dating a girl and we were going to get married. And it turns out I thought it was a bad idea and I didn't think we'd last. So I stopped, called it quits. The problem is she paid off some of my debt at the time. And I told her then, I said, if things don't work out, I don't have the money to pay you back. So what, I don't know if that's the smartest thing for you to do. She did it anyways. We broke up. And the first thing she did was she called the Judge Alex show, which was a show, I believe, on Fox back in the day. It's like Judge Judy.
Oh, wow.
Right. But it's just small claims court. It's not divorce court because luckily I didn't have to do that. But the producers called me and said, hey, this girl wants to take you to court to sue you for money that you owe her is what she says. So you can either come on the show and not pay a dime or chance it in real court and then you might have to pay it. I knew good and well it was a gift and it didn't concern me. But then to get me on there, they said, we'll give you some money. So they paid me to come on the show, flew me out there. I had a limousine take me to a hotel. I had my own trailer. It was a really cool setup. The only problem is the editing of the video went bad and it looks like I said absolutely nothing during the show. I did win, but it looked bad.
So I thought that those were just
what an experience.
like a reality show or something, but it's actually legit.
Yeah. Yeah, the only difference is they'll shoot several in one day and they have the same audience. They just rotate them around, right?
Nice.
So it's kind of cool. Don't get me wrong. It was a fun experience, but I tried to find that video again. You can't find it. You can find it titled from that season, that episode and everything, but you can't find the actual video, but you can find all the other ones. So
interesting.
It's really weird. But,
marriage is a pretty big deal though, right? And just relationships in general. I think marriage is kind of the one that a lot of people think about when they think about relationships because, marriage is the one that you actually live with the person. So if you can make that one work, I have a lot of good friends that I love them to death, want to spend tons of time with them, but just the thought of living in the same house with them makes me cringe.
Yeah.
So, tough stuff.
So I guess what's your opinion on the, living together while you're dating versus no, you should save it till after the wedding to do that? I know my wife would be for living together ahead of time to get all the bumps out of the road is, I guess, what they say. But I know it's kind of a toss-up between a lot of people.
Well,
You can chime in too, Heather.
That's what my dad recommended, actually, when he found out that I was going to get married.
When he found out by me calling him and asking, to which he responded, no. So,
Yes, that is a true story.
he was not in favor of us getting married. But as far as living together, I would say that morally, I'm on the page that you should get married first. That's definitely what I'm going to strongly suggest to my children. And so I think what people say is that, hey, you got to work things out before. And we have to live together because some things might come up, and then, I might want to pull that eject, right? But I think that really that attitude is in some ways can doom you from the start, right? So I think if you compare it to a business, how many businesses start and then fail soon, right? But then when you ask them, and we get calls from people starting a business, and I always ask, like, how much money do you want to make with this business per year? And if they just say, I just want to make a little, it's just kind of a hobby, I'm like, look, you're not even serious here. And so that would be my argument for, I think that you should wait for marriage, right? But the whole living together and the reasoning behind it, to me, is, you need to get to know the person. Yeah, you should spend some time dating. But do you need to sleep in the same bed to know if they're going to work for you? I don't know. I don't know if I'm in agreement with that. I think that's
true about the commitment. It's like, are they serious enough to be lifelong partners, as opposed to just, let me see if this roommate works out type of idea. So I'm certainly in agreement with that.
Yeah, I'm kind of OCD when it comes to like cleaning and everything. So, my wife says I've changed ever since we moved in together versus our dating life, because we didn't live together before we got married. But I do like the dishes put in the dishwasher a certain way. I do like to make sure that our bathroom isn't covered in hair or hair dye or whatever it may be. So, it's one of those things that, I get the point. You want to see what you're dealing with before you get in a marriage. The problem is when you're not married and then you live together, you kind of talked about it, was there's not a true commitment. You can leave at any time. It's very easy. And I think you just have that lack of effort that you put when you're just dating versus when you're married. Of course, it also has to do, I think, with religion also. I was raised very religious. Alton, I think you were, and then Heather, you weren't even.
Not so much.
Not so much. So let's kind of talk about that. How important is religion in marriage, and how did it work out between y'all?
I would say, religion is one thing, but then having for me, I think I really knew what I wanted. And I think Heather came into the relationship also really knowing what she wanted, but it wasn't based on something that God said. So I think that having that clarity and knowing what you want, or being willing to figure it out and voice that, is helpful. And I think kind of that's where we started coming together, right? Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Because she didn't have a bunch of, criteria, I guess, for me, from like, you have to go to church or whatever, which I was kind of coming into it like that though, because my relationship with God was, it was important. Not that I was doing a very good job holding up my end of the bargain, but it was something that I kind of foresaw me growing into.
Which is something that I saw and was attracted to also, that there was like this a godly person, trying to be godly person.
Well, yeah. Saying that I wanted to be committed, I think was how I would phrase that.
Sure. And so, from my perspective, it was just like, I didn't even know what it was all about. And seeing that there was like this commitment and like, he was totally committed to like, attending church, and like it was important to him, and you could tell. And so, and you didn't see that in very many like boys at that time at all. So that's certainly something that stood out. I mean, at the time, I know we were super young and everything, but
yeah. But I would say I'm 37 now, and based on my experience, that's all of it. I mean, that really is, it's not religion. It's knowing what the priorities are, which I think come from the Bible. And I think that that's loving God and loving your neighbor as yourself. And it turns out that your spouse is your neighbor. And the Bible talks a lot about what love actually is and what it's not. And I think when you start studying what love actually is, it helps you figure out how bad you're falling short and where you need to change the game. And then when you start looking at Jesus and what he did and the forgiveness that he offers, then it's like the other side of that coin, right? So I can keep blowing it constantly, but I'm trying. And Heather's like, well, I have to be forgiving, so I guess I'll hang in here with this guy, right? So it benefits you both, because I'm trying to do a better job and she's trying to deal right better. And I think that if you have two people who are committed to loving better and
growing and working towards being better, I think is a big key also, because I think you can't just think that marriage is like we got lucky or something, which is what we hear often. But
oh, y'all are so lucky.
Yeah.
You don't know how hard we work.
Whoa. I'm just kidding.
How hard I work.
Yeah, but yeah, we certainly have worked towards a good relationship. So,
but it was easy to work hard, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
no.
totally.
I mean, I think that's it though. It's like when you look at the standard that we have, what's this? The standard is perfection. It's perfect love. And I'm not there, right? Raise my hand, And so I think that's part of that growth.
Gotcha.
And where does that come? How do you have that mindset? I need to be more like Jesus. I need to be more forgiving, need to be more loving. I need to be willing to die for this person. I need to lay down everything for this person, for that person, for my family. I don't know where that comes from if it's not coming from your relationship with God. Because without that higher power, that kind of, I'm sure some people could just make that up on their own, but I know where that idea comes from.
Nice. So I actually have been through a divorce and then have now gotten remarried. So I've had obviously the really rough times, and then I've had some good times. I tried to do the same as far as religion, right? I tried to base our relationships off of religion, and I just don't think it took the same way as what I'd hoped. I think there was a lack of effort on like the first marriage. Mm-hmm. I mean, sometimes maybe it's the same in my current one. I don't I don't know. It's one of those things where you look at something I've grown up being COC my whole life, mm-hmm. and then both of them have never been COC and maybe never even really been to church much. But it was very important that it be a part of it. So I figured that would have solved some of the issues and maybe we would be on the same page. I think you always find those people that are like, yeah, marriage is forever. And that just never works out. I think people tend to forget, like you mentioned, is it takes a lot of work and effort. And part of it, I think, has to go to if you went to marriage counseling ever, they tell you to be open, listen. Maybe you took things the wrong way. they'll tell you to read this book, The 5 Love Languages, right? Have y'all ever done that?
It wasn't that one specifically.
We did premarital counseling.
We did. We were like, oh, that's so silly.
Was
We're
that through
so in
church?
love, like, why do we need counseling? But
Oh man, I was so against it. I thought it was the dumbest thing. Like, I've dated this girl for 7 years. What is this old guy going to tell me?
yeah.
I couldn't have been more wrong.
Yeah,
It
but
was probably the best thing we ever did.
and it's what we recommend to every person who's considering getting married.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The one problem when it comes to the counseling, marriage counseling or regular counseling, right? The person has to want to make the effort. And some people fear counseling, period, whatsoever. I mean, that was my first relationship. There's no way on earth you were going to get her to a marriage counselor. However, the girl that I dated, the Judge Alex girl, right? she and I went to a church-based marriage counseling with John Moore, and that was good. I thought the same thing. Oh, I don't need this. It doesn't make. But it actually did teach me a lot of stuff about how to be more open to what they say and don't say. And not taking it the wrong way. So I think it actually is pretty good idea to do ahead of time if you have the opportunity, if you have the money or the time, even depending on your work life. But
Yeah, I mean, I think that we've worked with a few therapists with our marketing company, and one of the things that they have said to us is that they're kind of like a coach. And that they're not really there to do it for you. They're there to point out some things that you might not see and to facilitate an environment to grow in, right? And an open thing. And I know one of the things that we did in the beginning was he made us go and he was like, all right, and I don't know what the statistic is, but a big reason why people get divorced are because of finances, right? Whether they're rich, whether they're poor, that disagreement and the financing portion of it can lead to problems. And so one of the things he gave us, we're 19 years old. I'd never done a budget. And he's like, all right, homework, go do a budget. And I'm like, how do we do a budget? But he's like, she's got to put her top priorities. What does she need to spend money on? And then you put down your priorities and then y'all duke it out. And I remember that was a tough one for us to figure out. All I wanted to do was race a motorcycle. So clearly all of the money needed to go to my motorcycle racing. She did not share those same values. So
yeah, because clearly you don't have a motorcycle anymore.
Well, anymore yet.
Yeah. He's always working towards that goal.
But we did do motorcycle
do we need to
racing.
counsel for this?
Yes, we did. We did do.
She needs counseling. Well, yeah.
For a long time.
Yeah.
It's expensive to motorcycle race, though.
It's too expensive and highly addicting, and I want to do it again now.
Let's go.
Now. Well, gotta go, guys.
Well, one of the things that I also talked about in the counseling was, mistakenly taking things the wrong way. So another book that was recommended to me is one by Byron Katie. It's Who Would I Be Without Your Story? And sorry, did I say that right? Who would you be without your story? So the book is basically about how you'll make all these stories up in your head just from something Heather says. And she means something completely different in the end. And you've put, 4 or 5 stories in your head as to what it could be. She cheated on me. I didn't say anything like that, So it's a good book. If you haven't read it, you should read it. And I think it'll.
Yeah, something we talk about a lot is the whole, if you're not communicating, then it's really difficult to learn about how to grow together.
Yeah, which is funny, though, because when you say communicating, we all agree on what that word means. Like she'll say, hey, we need to make sure we're communicating. And I'm like, yeah, we're communicating. But, one of the things that I like to say is that right? So we dated for 7 years and then we got married when we were 19. It was great, right? I mean, we were working through some stuff, but we were generally happy and willing to like duke it out when we needed to. And it was terrible. But like, that was one of the things that we were committed to, was like sitting there crying, yelling. Well, I guess not tons of yelling, but just like suffering through that, man, this is bad and I'm not happy and you're not happy and it's crap. And then realizing that like you said, you know, you think that you're communicating, but you're not. But so anyway, so like 4 years into marriage, I had gotten accustomed to Heather's like, it's cold, you know, when we're laying down in bed at night. And I'm like, oh, I know what that means, right? Well, after 4 years of marriage, I realized that meant that I was supposed to get up and turn up the thermostat, and wasn't at all what I thought it meant, which was cuddling, you know. So
Nice.
It took me, what is that? Yeah, at least 4 years to figure out one thing that she said. And so I'm sitting here today going, who knows what she's actually trying to say to me that I don't know even today.
Well, there's verbal communication and nonverbal communication. A lot of people forget the nonverbal, you know. I mean, I'm sure you've yelled at him, or you said you're okay, but yet you're red in the face or stomping your feet at the same time.
Yes, I'm sure that's happened before.
Everything's fine.
Yeah.
I said you can go motorcycle racing. I said it.
Yeah.
You did.
And he's probably, hopefully, I know he has learned that, like,
Y'all heard it. I learned.
he learned.
It's proof.
And you have it on recording, right?
That's right.
Sometimes
We'll just play
you
this
need
back.
your space for a while to think things out, and like it's hard for me to like have a conversation immediately when I'm super mad or upset about something, and he's like, let's fix this right now. And I'm like, you need to go away. And I just need to, like, you know, cool off. And then we can talk. I think that took a while too.
So
It's one of those things.
So I'm really kind of curious, you know, when people have told y'all in the past, you know, y'all are so lucky, right? That y'all are not divorced yet. Y'all kind of defied the odds. So y'all got married at 19, right?
Right.
So you actually have, you're less likely to get divorced if you're 23 or older. So you've already beaten that so far.
Check.
Of course, it may change after the show, but, you know, we'll see. And then on top of that, you know, first marriages are 50% likely to get a divorce, and it goes up 10% every marriage after that. So I'm already in the 60, unfortunately. But, and then y'all hadn't completed college yet, obviously, because I don't even think, were y'all starting college at the time?
I was in college.
Yeah, we were
A
both.
couple years in.
Yeah, when we got married.
Right?
No, I
1
proposed
year in. I don't know.
after one semester. I was like, man, I found this trophy. I'll give her 6 months. But then after 6 months, I was like, man, she's going to find somebody a lot better looking than me. I better put a ring on this.
So they said that it's you're 13% less likely to get a divorce if you've attended college. So y'all had just started. So I'm wondering, you know, is it really at the end of college or what? But I don't know if that y'all would fall into that 13% decrease. But, you know, had you waited, then you'd have worked through it. Plus you would have reached the 23.
He wouldn't wait that long.
He wouldn't.
No way. 19 was pushing it.
So then what are some big issues that have happened that you've worked through, and how did you get to that point where it was like, we're good?
Big issues.
No one first.
I think one of the things when we were younger was that, and I think that this happened in high school, right? Which I like, some people may be like, oh yeah, you were kids and whatever. But I think that some people are our age and still dealing with this type of thing. And I think that you kind of hinted at it, John, that one of the traits that Heather had was that she would just, I mean, I'm messing everything up and then she's not telling me. And so I'm supposed to want to know what I did wrong, and I'm supposed to know what it was that I did wrong, right? And so I'm getting the cold shoulder. And I remember one time in high school, after it had happened several times, I said, look, you're telling me it's fine, but it's not fine. And I don't know what I did. So you can sit there and like be mad at me because I don't know, or you can just tell me and then I can try to fix it and maybe not do it again. But like, if you're just going to be mad at me, how's that helping our relationship?
Yeah. And it took that like straightforwardness for me to be like, wow, I'm being like really dumb. You know, we just need to like talk it out. Like, why am I being weird like this? It totally doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? So like he had to like up front just tell me what the problem was. And we got through that, but it was a big heartache for whatever reason, maybe because of the age that we were at or something, but
yeah, crazy hormones in high school. But I think that's an example though of other things that have happened in our marriage where there's like this underlying problem. And I mean, I guess I can't speak to Heather, but I try to not be mad at things instantly, right? Like if something happens that I'm not a fan of, I'm not going to get too mad at it the first time, you know, because I'm like, well, maybe I'm just being a jerk. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. But then after it happens a couple more times, it's like eating at me inside that she's continuing to do something. And then I try to figure out, okay, what is causing that? Because we all have needs that need to be met. And I think that that's really what it boils down to in a marriage is that I have needs, you have needs, Heather has needs. As her husband, I need to know what those needs are, and I need to know how I'm fulfilling those and how I'm not. And I can't always fulfill all of those needs. Like I have a jujitsu need. She tries, it's just not the same, you know? I need somebody else to fulfill my jujitsu needs. Yep. And just so happens that that's okay, right? Like I can go and get beat up by other people instead of her beating me up all the time. Nice. But, you know, so after a while I start trying to figure that out. And then if I can't reconcile that, or even if I can, usually we'll have a discussion about that. Like, look, this is how I'm feeling right now. Like, I'm feeling like you don't love me because you want me to sell my motorcycle. And I'm thinking that, you know.
I mean, if you were single, you could do anything you wanted.
Yeah, I'm just really hurt by that. Because clearly you know how much I love motorcycle racing. And you're asking me to sell this bike. So, right. So and then we talk about it. And then it gives her the opportunity to actually communicate. And she says, Alton, we have 4 daughters and a business, and you're spending $5,000 a week on your motorcycle, on your credit card. So it's not that I don't love you. I just don't see where this is going.
Just make me some more money. And then.
Yeah. So now we have this solution like, hey, put 100,000 in the bank and go buy a motorcycle again. Right. So now we have this opportunity for me to voice my opinion, her to voice her opinion in this space where we're both committed to how can we work this out. And then,
and that happens.
So far it's good.
We try to make that happen on a regular basis, like even like anniversary.
Oh yeah. Those are always good.
But what about if he all of a sudden says, well, why do I have to give up my motorcycle and you get to still do your nails and hair all the time?
Well,
and get your massages.
Then we just talk about it, and I say, you know, what my wants are and desires, and he listens, and then we figure out maybe a solution to that. Like maybe you can only go get your nails done once every so many months or something like that. You know, would that be something that, you know, seems fair to you? Or, you know, so we just work it out.
And then those are also like training wheels for the rest of our life, right? Because she knows that I'm always thinking, how can I go motorcycle racing? And I'm just using that, right? Like metaphorically. But I think that happens with all of us, right? Like, I want to go to this, I want to go to that. And then, but now she knows like that I have this urge. She knows who I am, and she knows the lens that I'm looking through all the time, you know? So if she tells me to be home at 3 p.m. one day and I'm out with my buddy at the Ducati dealership and I don't get home until 5, because she knows me and she's like, I asked him to sell his bike and he's just looking, give him those couple hours and not be on, you know, because she knows me, she knows where I'm coming from.
I don't have to be a nagging wife about
right.
it, you know.
Or maybe because I'm like asking her to not get her nails done twice a week. You know, maybe there's something else that I gotta pull weight on to make sure that need of her feeling pretty or her having like some outing is being taken care of. But without those conversations, how do you know? And I think that that's one thing that we've done well, is trying to understand that and not stepping on each other in that, right? So instead of saying, well, I need a motorcycle, well, I need my nails done, it's like, well, how do we take care of both of that? Or is there something else, like one of the things with the motorcycle that we talked about? Because this is real, right? Like there's a go-kart.
We're going to solve your issue today. Now,
there's a go-kart racetrack up here that's so much cheaper than racing a motorcycle, right? So like we take the family up there and we do the go-kart racing, or we take the kids, we go watch the races, right? Which is not owning a motorcycle, but it's this effort that we have to fulfill the need. And, you know, being honest with those types of things, I guess. Does that make sense at all?
So just watching the racing fulfills your need?
Well, no, of course not. But it's like pretend, you know, we're playing pretend.
Because that bothers me. Like if I'm watching fishing, all I'm thinking is, I got to use that lure. I got to go fishing. I got to try it and see if I can catch that 10-pound bass with it. Okay. So quick thoughts on two topics in regards to marriage. You know, we're in a newer generation. I mean, we had this discussion in my marriage, I think in both, is do you split money and have two separate accounts, or do you combine it and have it in one like a traditional marriage in the past?
I think it just depends on the couple, like whatever they work out together. That seems like it makes sense. I mean, I know that's not very precise answer.
Did y'all have this talk beforehand, or?
Yes, that's one of the questions that we were like, we had never even thought about it really until our marriage counseling. That was a question that he had for us as well.
Yeah, I think when we were younger, I was like, look, I have no reason to have a separate bank account than you. Right. Whatever is mine is yours, and I don't care. You know, if we blow this marriage, like we screwed it up, and I don't care if you take all the money, because like the marriage is more important. I don't care. But then, like, you know, we've had some tight times where there's only so much money in that one account, and we were both spending out of it. Right. And then we were like bouncing checks, and I'm like, well, this is stupid. And she's like, yeah, but I wanted to buy groceries. And I'm like, yeah, but I needed to buy gas. And then, so then at that point we were like, well, this is foolish not to have separate accounts right now so that we can budget easier. Mm-hmm. And, but then, I mean, I could go take all of the money out of her account if I wanted, you know, so it's not like, like I don't have access, but I guess it's just, you know,
personal preference.
Yeah. I mean, when money's an issue, it's like, we need more money, not like, I guess we kind of have this abundant mindset that, you know, there's enough, but if we're not managing what we do have, that's the problem.
Well, you know, going back to the marriage counseling ahead of time, right? One of the things they also talked about was the words that are not excitement, those intense words like "I want a divorce" or "you never" or "you can't." You know, have y'all caught yourself saying those words? Have you corrected them? You know, are you mindful of what you're saying all the time when it comes to those things?
Crickets.
Hey, you can't have silence on radio. You know that, right? It's like no dead air. No, I think I think that that's a valid point. And I would say that for one reason or another, I think we're both pretty slow to speak most of the time. Can I say that? Is that legit?
I think that's true.
But I can also say that the environment that I grew up in, it was not.
You're slow speakers as in you're thinking about it before you say it?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, in other words, like if she makes me mad, when anyone makes me mad, I don't really have a response to yell at you or say hurtful things. But I think part of that's just.
It may have been both of our growing up.
I think we saw that. We witnessed a lot of that verbal arsenal, and we've had a lot of those conversations. And I think probably at one point we said some things. We've definitely said some things that have hurt each other. And we both went to each other and was like, when you said this, that was rough. Don't do that. That hurts. It hurts too much.
Yeah.
And so we trained each other. We taught each other what our boundaries were. Like,
right.
I remember saying that to Heather one time because she thought she was one of the boys and she could just say the same things that like you could say to me, John. Like you could say whatever you want and I just don't really care. You can make fun of me. Like you can sit here and say, hey, Alton, you got tiny little muscles. And I'd be like, okay, well, let's do some jujitsu, John. and then let's see. Right. But if Heather sits there and like, man, your muscles are really small. Like, I'm just going to cry. I'll say it, right? Like coming from her, I can't handle that. Whereas if you could say it, you could have a whole stadium of people saying it. I don't care. But from her, it's like, whoa, I got a boundary here. So don't do that. And if you're going to do that, then I know that she knows what that's doing. And so if she's behaving in that way.
He knows that I'm trying to hurt him.
Yeah, which is, not cool. So I think that generally we're pretty good at that. And we're also good at communicating how that impacts us, and where we stand on it. And not just like if she sits here and says, hey, Alton, your muscles are small, I don't just go and then don't say anything and then go cry in a corner. I'm like, dude, why'd you say that? You said it on a podcast. Man. Come on. I'm going to cry for weeks now.
So part of this marriage conversation, I thought would be good to talk about if you do get a divorce. If you do, it sucks. I'm sorry. If you're really attached to somebody, especially 24 years of marriage. I mean, it's going to take a hit from both of y'all, even if it is something like, oh, he cheated on me or she cheated on me. You can't get over any divorce very easily, even I would say from a horrible relationship where maybe it was physical.
For sure.
But some of the things I wish I knew when I was going through my divorce, the first thing, I have a kid, 2 kids. One's just mine, and the other was mine and my first wife. When she first said, "Hey, I'm leaving. We're done," I was still trying to make that marriage work. I didn't want to give up. I wanted to do the romantic, fight for me till whenever. Well, it doesn't work like that in the real life because of course there's attorneys that get involved in things like that. So the first thing I screwed up on was I let my youngest daughter leave with the mother. And apparently that's the number one sin, because once you do that, you're saying, hey, she's better off with that person. So for me, I was saying, she's better off in my wife's hands. And I was doing it more to try to save the marriage, not thinking about this marriage is over, custody, how is that going to work out? Because I've been hurt over the years due to custody agreements in the state constantly just being a problem, and letting my daughter move around constantly. She'd been to South Carolina, Hawaii, San Antonio, and it's like I'm missing out on a lot of these little important things, and it could have all changed if I had just said, no, you're not taking my kid. The other thing is, a lot of people can't afford getting an attorney. You have to get an attorney. You don't have a choice. You'll lose. And I mean, if you can't afford one, I would say you might as well just give up and just give that person everything that they want, because you're going to get so screwed. Of course, if for whatever reason y'all can ever, negotiate and work things through, that's the best, easiest way. But most of the time something happens.
Yeah. I've even, I don't think it's like a well-known business, but I actually spoke with a financial advisor, and one of her things that she was saying was, hey, if you think you're going to have to get a divorce, come to me and let's see if I can help you figure this out. And if you're going to do it, fine, but you just need a lawyer to sign the papers. But
right.
So, I mean, I'm not promoting divorce at all, but, if it comes down to that and it's really happening, I think, again, the finances can be so much of it, right? And, talking to a financial advisor, I don't know, it might be kind of like a counselor. I don't know. I mean, I don't think people are advertising that, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe if that's a big thing you can work through, then it might be enough to give you some motivation to keep it going.
Right. Well, when it comes to getting an attorney, there's different ways. You can get a loan. There's also sites that discount rates for people that fall under certain salary ranges, right? I believe that's what I did when I went through my divorce, is how I got my attorney paid for. And then, of course, attorneys do pro bono work, which is free, right? But they have to do so much pro bono work due to, their contract
right.
with their law firm or things like that. So you got to look around, but you've got to keep a level head. And it really is hard during a divorce to keep a level head. So if you can get a parent or a best friend to support you, or if you can be that to somebody else, please do it, because you're an emotional wreck. You'll see people lose so much weight, spend a lot more time alone. They'll miss events, going through Christmas and things like that's hard. Heck, even singing at church, that was hard for me, right? Just certain songs just set you off. You're sitting in there and this is, it sucks.
Yeah. We can relate to the divorced families.
So did y'all have divorced families?
Like. Yes.
I mean,
Parents?
my folks both divorced at a young age.
Yep.
Yeah, like kindergarten or before, right? Something like that. Yeah. I don't even remember.
Really?
Yeah, I was really young too.
That's weird.
But
So
you can remember things that happen, lots of anger, and the moving around, right? Going every Wednesday and every other weekend, switching houses. And it's
miserable, right?
Yeah, it's certainly hard on the kids. At least it was on me and my brother.
Yeah.
And that's so weird. So, there's a 14% more chance of y'all getting a divorce, and yet y'all done so good for so long. So y'all are still
We're beating the odds, babe.
You're beating the odds big time.
Don't tell me the odds. It's possible. It's possible for everybody, even with the odds. And I think that that's one thing that, so I had like this 9 to 5 for a long time, and then we decided we were going to work from home together. And her dad's like, well, that might not be a good idea. You'll be together a lot. And we kind of chuckled at it, which I'm a dad of daughters, so I get it, like, hey, you need to be counseling your kids and making sure that they're not being stupid. Right. But then at the same time, we just kind of chuckled because we're like, yeah, but we got married because we like each other and we actually want to be together.
Okay. So 2 more things on the divorce. 2 more notes that I had for it is another thing. Stay off social media. Social media will kill you because she'll stalk you, her family will stalk you or him, right? And they'll use everything against you. You didn't tie her shoes the right way. You're a horrible parent, just anything. And then the last thing I would mention is, it sounds funny, but keep a log of everything that happens, whether it's big or small. It makes a big difference, because going over the custody battle with my oldest daughter, those notes just added up over time. And it started out small, and it was like, wow, she's smoking around her. Now she's getting ear infections from it. And the doctor's even saying this. And she says this, she does this. She's a stripper. All this stuff adds up. And so it could work for you in the end. Nevertheless, some of the things that I wrote down, it's like, as the kids get older, if they want to ask questions about things, I don't want to fill them with my opinions, my story, right? Here's what happened, or maybe you don't share any of this, but if you want to, it's here's what's happened. You form your opinion. I'm not talking bad about my ex-wife or myself. You just make up your own opinion. But we're still the parents either way. I guess the last part before we go into our deciding factor, right, is how has COVID-19 changed the marriage at all, if any?
We are working out more together since he's unable to go do his jujitsu thing and me go run with my buddies.
Sorry.
So, so that's different, I guess. But, we work from home, so we're having to work from home already. So that hasn't changed. We certainly have lost clients, which is, difficult, but
temporarily, right?
Yeah, temporarily. Sure. Yeah, we just hope that we've done our best with them and that, they'll come back because they love us when they can. So, but I don't know that that's hard on the marriage, but it's a part of our life.
Well, it's definitely finances, right? Because I'm ready to buy a motorcycle, and now, there goes all my profits. Yeah. So,
but it's also
she's got to
making us work
now.
harder in different areas. So, we just do what we got to do.
Hey, you can always go favor. You can always go favor. Do the house deliveries now.
Yeah,
make your extra money, get your motorcycle, and
there's a lot of that. Yeah,
but then the problem is, then that becomes the subject of, is that really your money since it's a side gig? Or is it still y'all's money?
Yeah.
She's giving you the evil eye, so watch out what you say.
The thing is that you have to be on the same page. I'm having a very candid conversation here about how I feel about things, and she knows, and we both can look at the same checkbook and be like, dude, hello, right? Or whatever, or the time constraints, and we talk about our goals. We talk about the goals for the end of the week, and we talk about the goals for 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And that's a normal conversation for us. So when these outside things are happening, COVID-19, oh, there goes all of your profits for who knows what, right? We still have the same goal. And we're sitting here trying to figure out, okay, well, we still have to work from home. Now we have 2 more kids at the house. How are we going to do that? Right? So we're still working together, knowing we still want our kids to be educated. We still need to be helping our clients. We still need to have a good relationship. How do we do it? Okay, well, you're going to have to work a little later. I'm going to have to work a little earlier. We're going to have to take some time off here or there. Right. And so I would say generally, because of how we normally operate, it hasn't affected us, right? I haven't been furloughed. It's just there's less money, but now we're working together and saying, how do we fill out this SBA loan? How do we, what's the best thing for the kids right now? Can we do this, that, right? And so we're still attacking the same goals. It's the outside force which is always happening, I think, in a marriage. There's always outside things.
There's always life happening around you.
Yeah.
For sure. You never know what's going to happen.
Well, they say the divorce rate's already going up.
Oh,
there's
sure.
more calls to attorneys for divorce due to COVID and everybody being home and driving each other crazy.
Yeah.
But I'm going to ask you both personal questions. So I'm going to mute her mic so she can't hear us. So just between me and you, Alton, just between me and you, since she can't hear us,
we're not in the same room.
Do you have any regrets not being on more dates as an older person? There's all the Match, Tinder, and all that fun stuff.
I think about dating right now, and I'm so terrified about it. And honestly, and this is something that, especially on our anniversary, we talk about. So, I had my own trajectory in my head of things that I was going to do and how my life was going to be. I think that God had a totally different idea for me, which is why her and I started dating in 7th grade, because who knows what would have happened. But I think when you have a good marriage and you're committed, one of the things that as we've gotten older, I think we've really realized is that, like, if you read the part in Genesis, it talks about that God made woman as a helper comparable to Adam. And I think that's like kind of some funny language that I don't really get. But as I've gotten older in this marriage, I've decided that I can't be the best version of Alton without Heather. I just can't, because I have my own ideas about how things work. And I think I have no hesitation to say that, like, without Heather in my life, knowing who I am and helping me to be better, I couldn't be who's sitting here, which still has a lot of work to do, but it's better than I was before. You know, I'm much more proud of the person I am today than I was a decade ago. And I couldn't have been here without Heather in my life helping me to become that. So when I think about, I could have motorcycle raced a little more, or I could have, fill in the blank, right? Done plenty of other dumb things, right? Uh-huh. I just go, man, it's not even close. And I think that when you have a real relationship with someone, like, you can convince them to be your ideal person too, if they're willing. And I feel like that's another thing that we do. So it's like, how am I going to go find a better version than what I have already? I can't. I've been working like 25 years to, you know what I'm saying? You're starting from scratch with somebody else, and I'm nuts. So finding somebody that would even want to go on a date, it's just tall order.
All right, Heather, I'm going to bring you back in here.
Here I am.
I'm going to ask you a completely different question.
Okay.
Do you have any regrets not dating anybody or being on any of those apps at all? Like Tinder, eHarmony, any of those? Oh,
no. No, I don't regret that at all. I feel like, whenever I was younger, I did have, a couple of other boyfriends, but I was very specific in like what I wanted, and I knew what I wanted. And so finding that, once you find what you're looking for and you know that that's going to fit, and of course I didn't know everything that was going to happen, right? But you do the best you can finding a mate. So once you think you know who you want to spend the rest of your life with, then I think working on that, has always been my main goal. And like making him happy is, I think a thing that I've tried to do, as we've dated and been married, so there's been a lot of work put into this relationship. So I'm certainly, I think that would be kind of crazy to try to date anyone. It's kind of scary thought, actually. But
it's definitely a different world. One last aspect I'd like to get into here is, kids. I know.
On cue.
On cue. Here comes the kids. 3 out of 4 people that get divorced get remarried. I'm one of those. Kids from another marriage, coming into a new one, plays a very tough scenario for a lot. Me personally, I would say, when I was in the dating scene, it was, do I want to date anybody that already has kids? Because there's, can I whip them? Can I yell at them? Are they considered my kids? Are they not considered? There's all these things. Me personally, I would actually advise anybody that has kids already, they should probably wait till their kids are actually out of the house before you try to get remarried. You have thoughts or opinions on that? Have you ever thought of it even?
I mean, honestly, I don't even... When someone uses the word divorce, I don't even... Like, it doesn't register that it's possible to happen to me. That may sound crazy, but like, it's not even it's like that happens to other people. And I know that may sound kind of foolish, but that's just how my brain processes that word. And I mean, with kids, it's so hard. And I can speak from experience of going through a divorce and then like seeing my mom with other guys, or, you know, my dad with other girls. I don't know. It's kind of, here's the thing. Like, I think that we were meant to be with somebody else. And, you know, so I think that we all have, that's a very natural desire, right? And so is the single Alton miserable better than the married Alton miserable? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a hard one for me too, to comprehend, just from what, you know, from when I was a kid and my dad and his, you know, whenever he got married, it was like, I think there's a way to do it. I don't know what that is, but I think there's a way to do it where it's not as like hurtful for your children, which is what you're talking about, I think, is like.
Well, I think it's hurtful for both. You know,
right.
The kids do take effect because then they're like,
sure.
You used to do this and you used to be raised like this. Now you're having to go by this new person's rule. I mean, I'm guilty of it too. You know,
sure.
Yeah.
My 2 stepkids are like, oh my goodness, we have to clean? What?
Right.
The bowls have to be on the top shelf of the dishwasher. I used to just throw them in here.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if I'm an expert on this, but like, you know, like my dad, he just called me. He moved away. So like he was far away. So like I wasn't able to see him very often. But whenever he did get married, he just called and said, I got married, you know, like, I'm like, cool. You know, like, I think there's a way to do it that isn't like so hurtful, I guess. So that's all the experience I have, I guess, with it.
You know, but I mean, talking about that, right? Like, her dad remarried. Heather has a stepsister. Is that how that?
Whom I love.
Is that
Yes.
what they're called? Stepsisters?
That is what they're called.
She's like one of my best friends now.
Yes.
Okay. So
Interesting.
there's definitely some downsides, but it's Heather's stepsister. She feels like she's my sister.
Yeah.
So
There's certainly a family.
I'm just saying,
Doing
forget
it.
the odds. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Figure out a way.
Yeah.
And if you, I mean, I know we're living in a broken world, but I think that there's a lot of possibility, and we need to believe that, and just keep hammering, you know, keep going for it, even when it's bleak.
All right, Heather, we're going to try this. This is going to be our first guest to do this with us. You ready?
Sure. Let's do it.
Now it's time for our deciding factor.
All right, let me try it first. You know, my deciding factors is going to be kind of a 2-part, right? There's going to be the already have been married coming into it with kids. My deciding factors are really just going to be, I would avoid it. Like I said earlier, don't get married again until at least the kids are gone. Even then, you really need to do a lot of self reevaluations. Probably spend some time with some counselors and see if you really should get married, or if there's something big you need to work on that ended it. As far as, you know, if you've never been married and you're doing this for the first time, there's definitely some pros and cons. You have to check your level of commitment beforehand. If you're fully committed, you work through everything from finance to somebody yelling at you, somebody making fun of you. Religion is high on the list, right? If they can mark and make every one of those points, I think go for it. If you have any doubt, especially when it comes to the day of getting married, right? If you have any doubt that maybe they're not as committed, or they said something that's really, really on your mind heavily, probably should take a step back, because you're going to think about that later, I think. So be hesitant if you get married, especially in today's world. There's a lot of people out there that don't care to make the effort that some of us are, and view marriage as kind of another dating, right? They've got reality shows out there that are making marriage seem, what is it? Love is blind, right? You date the person, you don't see them, and then you see them, and oh man, oh, that's right. Y'all don't watch TV, so y'all have no idea what I'm talking about. Man, y'all got to start watching TV here.
I'm smiling. Does that count?
Yeah. So I mean, watching some of those reality shows, yeah, let's be mindful. Heather, what would be your deciding factor as far as getting married or staying single?
In today's world.
In today's world.
Yeah, I just think that I would agree with, are you committed to being with this person for the rest of your life? Do you want what's best for them as well as yourself? Obviously, I think if you're questioning these things, like, find the right person. Just keep looking, be patient, be prayerful about all of these things. I think is a big one. And I think that anyone can find their way, and find the right person for them, if they're all willing to work for it. So I think it's up to, it just depends on the people, I guess, for me. So,
so 2 cautions. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
You're going to join me on my bandwagon?
Yeah, I think you should certainly, marriage is a serious thing to me. So if you're not committed, then don't do it. But if you are, then, and y'all both want to do the life thing together, it's awesome. It's super awesome. It can complete you and the other person. So
nice.
That's what I've decided.
I don't think either one of y'all pointed out the tax benefits of getting married. It's big tax benefits.
But tax benefits don't outweigh the attorney fees if you get divorced, or the fact that you'll lose half your stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe more if they get the kids.
Would she take my motorcycle?
Maybe.
Yikes.
And then she'd sell it just to piss you off.
That would be savage. I couldn't live with that. So here's my deciding factor. I think it's our natural urge to want to be with someone else. I think that we all have that piece of us that, those needs that are fulfilled by other outside of ourselves, right? We can do a good job of getting ourselves right, but another person makes it so much better. And that's it wasn't long ago, Heather and I were talking about that. No matter what is happening, if it's COVID-19, if it's a grandfather passing, if it's me getting laid off the day before my twin daughters are born, if it's me racing my motorcycle and setting the fastest lap of the entire, whatever is happening, it's better with a partner. And so if it's bad, it's not so bad. And when it's good, it's so good. I mean, we were on our anniversary, and we're literally, this is a whole COVID-19 thing, right? Where everyone's supposed to be social distancing and nothing's open. So we're just literally stuck in our car driving around. And it was great. I mean, would I rather been, in Tahiti on a beach somewhere? Sure. Right. But it was so good. And I feel that I know that I've lived through my parents' divorce, and that was crap. But man, I'm saying risk it and be willing to commit. Like, and I remember it was even several years into our marriage. Like, I had some trust issues. Like, I was afraid to love fully. I always kind of guarded my heart and said, but what if, I can't really love her 100%? I mean, I did, right? I mean, I thought, but then it was like I had this little piece that I was guarding. When I opened up and said, forget it. If it's going to be bad, I'm going to just bleed out here. That's what's going to happen. And so when I did that, I think that our marriage relationship got better. So I think that, number one, like y'all said, you got to be committed. Number two, you need to get your own head on right, because I think our marriage was hindered by my own attitude. And when I was willing to just sell out and say, man, she stomps all over me, so be it. It got better, and it's so good now. Like, I feel like, man, I wish everyone had what I have, but I can't give what I have to other people. They gotta put in the work too. So I'm saying go for it, but yeah, it's got to be right. And I agree with what y'all said, but man, don't look at the stats. Look at yourself, read the Bible, figure out what love actually is and whether or not you can do that and work on it.
So you're saying caution, or are you all in?
Man, I'm all in on this. Come on. This is like,
everybody needs to get married.
Like, as far as marriage goes, if you could put like we can't measure it. Right. You're looking at us sitting here. You don't know how much our marriage is worth. But like, for me, I'm the billionaire in the marriage. So you got a lot of people that are married, but their marriage is broke. You look at their marriage bank account, there's nothing in it, right? It's a piece of paper. But I'm stacking gold over here. So I'm sitting here saying, hey, my bank's full. Like, jump on the train, because you could fill your bank up too. There's nothing keeping you from it. I mean, there are things, but you can work through them. That's what I think.
All right. Well, I guess that does it. So anything else you want to add, Heather, since this is your first time?
No, thank you. It's been great, though. Thank you.
No problem. It was a pleasure having you. Wish I could have gotten more dirt and stirred up the pot a little more, but, maybe we'll do it next time.
Play that guitar, man. I want to hear it again. Crank it up.
So appreciate y'all listening today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. We need your help to build our shows. Everybody say bye.
Adios.
Later.
This has been another episode of The Deciding Factor, giving you food for thought on real life issues. Be sure to click, like, and subscribe to this podcast, as well as all your big social media outlets, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Don't forget to check out our website at thedecidingfactorpodcast.com and give us comments and feedback. Until next time, stay safe and remember to keep an open mind.